Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate you being here, courageous to come look at art. And I just want to take a moment to arrive. So you can do this with me if you want, but just feel yourself on the earth, supported by the earth. I'm going to breathe in and out a couple times. Just really arriving, nothing right to do, just being here. Yes, yeah, okay. What's coming through for me now is when I was 14, I lost my father to suicide. And he wanted to be an artist, but he felt trapped by life. And the last thing he said to me was, do develop your potential. Do develop your potential. And today I'm going to talk about why I make art and my process and a little bit about how I got to be where I am, my progress as an artist. And as you can imagine, losing my father in that way at such a young age, it had an impact. So I've had my share of addiction and recovery and depression and anxiety and phobias. And through it all, I really can say that art has set me free. And I'll explain that. I mean, for me, making art is really about healing and growth and sometimes thriving even. And the way I do it is I practice whole being, unconditional self-love, which I call love energy. So there's the possibility of just being in my body in front of the canvas and feeling into my whole being and just accepting myself as I am is really a beautiful practice. And it is a practice. It's not something I have locked in and have perfected. It's just something that I practice when I'm making art. So one of the reasons I make art is so that I can practice this. And then when I drop in like that, I can infuse the painting with this energy of whole being, unconditional self-love, love energy. And this is my hope, this is my fervent hope that's totally unscientifically proven, that energy goes out in the world, in the painting. And when people look at the work and it's hanging in front of them and they engage in it, they feel this energy. Or at the very least, what I would love to think happens is they stand in front of the work and they see something, they feel something that maybe they don't always feel, and they begin to experience an expanded sense of themselves. I would love to think that sometimes with my work, that can include love energy and the possibility for them to love their whole being unconditionally. That's why I make art. Let's talk about what happens in the studio when I paint. When I'm painting, there's a three-part process. But before I start that, I drop in to this practice of loving myself, whole being, unconditionally. And I'm dropping, I can do it now. Just drop in, feel my feet. Just being here with you guys. Everything is beautiful, it's fine. Doesn't matter if it goes well or not. It's just here and it's being as it is. When I drop into this space and I'm in relationship with this blank canvas in front of me, I feel my body, there's like strong root, and I feel my body kind of swaying around and moving, and I'm ready to enter the first step, which is play. I'm ready for play. And I'm just like putting colors on the canvas, and it doesn't matter what brush I'm using, what tool I use, or how it goes, and I'm moving from my shoulder, and I'm activating the canvas, and I can see it coming right in front of me right now, and it's beautiful, and it's fun, and I'm not attached to anything that's going on. It's just this energy that's flowing through me onto the canvas, and it's beautiful, and it's playful. And as I do this playfulness with the canvas, before long something emerges on the canvas, and I'm kind of like falling in love with it. I don't know what it is. It's nothing I intended. It's just, let's use a scenario like there's maybe some colors up in this quadrant of the canvas, and it's like bright and saturated and like, and then maybe there's a warm color and there's a cool color and there's just like a community of colors here. And I'm finding that it's like really drawing my attention and I'm falling in love with it. And I think, oh, how can I make the rest of the painting look like this? And I'm just like, I'm still playing, I'm putting different colors on, that's in the corner of my mind, this community of diverse colors over here. And I think, oh, this is beautiful. And here's a shape that kind of works with it, and here's a shape that doesn't work with it. Cover that over and move this over. And then I kind of noticed there's this blank area down here. How did that happen? So I get a big brush and I plop it in the black paint. I do a big gestural move on the canvas. Now there's this mark. It wasn't there before. Now it's this independent, strong, stands for itself mark. And it's like, somehow it relates to this community of diverse colors up here. I'm like, oh, my brain's engaged now. And I'm getting into stage 2. And it's like, oh, there's a concept coming here. And I'm chasing some kind of idea. I'm still playing. Everything I'm doing on the canvas, but it seems to be in support of this idea. The idea is, how does community relate to individuality? This is just our scenario. It could be anything. This time, during this talk, this is what came up. And there's just like this community of colors and individuality, and like, how do those things relate? How does individuality work with community? How does community work with individuality? And like everything all the moves I do, all the color choices I make, everything is involved in trying to support this one idea I have now. And I get closer and closer and closer to this idea every move I make. So before, I was moving like this. Then, now, for a little while, I'm moving from my elbow. Now with the brush, I'm moving my wrist. And then as I go deeper and deeper and deeper into making this painting that says this one thing, it's like I have blinders on, and the painting can only be one thing. And I'm excited, my brain's excited. It's like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. This is the one. This might be the one I get known for life. This is gonna be my masterpiece. It's all coming together. It has all the academic elements that are supposed to be there to please other people. It's got all the right things in it. The goodness is in there. I know it because it's in my training. And I get closer and closer and closer. And my brush sizes go from here to here to here. They get smaller and smaller. My moves get smaller, my body gets really stiff, and my mind gets really active. And I'm moving just really gently, and the colors are strategic, and they all support this one idea. And it's beautiful, and I'm getting smaller and smaller and smaller moves with my body, and I'm kind of beginning to get stiff and dry up, and I'm even crackling a little bit, and the painting feels stiff. And I lock up. And then there's this explosion of energy and response, and it's like, oh my fucking God, I did it again. I spent another day, week, sometimes months trying to chase this perfection in this canvas, and I can't do it. I cannot get there. I either feel angry, or the other response sometimes I get is, okay, I don't have to do this anymore. I can go into the third stage. And the third stage is energy. The painting to me is perfect, but it feels dead, and I need to energize it. So I'm back in my body again, and I'm throwing colors around, a big white brush, and magic white covers over all the things that were really precious just a moment ago. And now I just like, the painting is alive, and I'm painting with expression, and I can feel it, and it's just alive in me, and that is when I know the painting is done, because now I have painted from my whole being, and it feels complete. That's what happens when I go in the studio. Let's talk about how I got there. So my progress as an artist, essentially, when I grew up in the 1960s, look at this art while I'm talking. I grew up in the 1960s, and for me, that meant I was, on Saturday mornings, I ran down and turned the black and white TV on, and I saw these clear, simple shapes. I was watching an hour, if I was lucky, an hour and a half of cartoons, and I saw these simple shapes saying one thing. If the Roadrunner ran across the TV screen, I knew what it was. If the coyote followed him, I knew what it was. Very simple ideas, very strong, two-dimensional, flat imagery. That's what I grew up with. And then later on Saturdays, we would go to the grocery store, and I would go down the cereal aisle, and there were these big, like, body-sized boxes of cereal for kids, and they were like big, saturated colors and simple shapes and a strong, clear message. And I fell in love with that aesthetic. So when it came time for me to make a living, I got an MFA in graphic design, not in fine arts, but in graphic design. And all of this kind of imagery that I loved growing up is what they taught me how to do. It was like simple, clear, highly saturated often, but very easy imagery to read, very easy to read, and always a clear concept. So of course, when I started making paintings, and this series is an excellent example of it, that's what the stuff looked like. Because I love this stuff. I love how this looks, and I love the saturated colors, and I love the dark against the light, and it's easy read. And these paintings, you should have your own experience, but these paintings say no more than one thing. You can read into these paintings, and they can say different things for you, and that's beautiful. But if you look at the title of each one, it tells my concept, my intention, and that's inside of us. And that's what I started out doing when I started painting. And a couple of years ago, I realized that there was structure, let's call it structure, like this kind of painting I would call my structural part. That guy was in the studio making paintings, but none of my other sides were in there. Nobody else inside of me was making paintings, just that guy. So a couple of years ago, I decided I would try to make a series of paintings that would put a graphic element like these on a canvas, but then put it inside of an environment that was looser and freer, more expressive. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 18 months, and ultimately it never worked out for me. There were some interesting results, but it never really gelled for me. And so last year I realized I wanted to just spend the year doing expressive work. The structure of this kind of work got put aside for a year, and I started doing this series called the Unknowable series because I had no idea what it was going to develop. I needed to drop the structural sides. It was just very scary for me because that was the control, that was the training. This is what I knew that I loved. This is what made a good, strong image, and I was dropping that away to explore this other side of myself. And I made 18 paintings, and every single one of them, I just allowed myself to go in and be with the process, no intention, and I thought they were ugly. I thought they were so awful. And I didn't want to have anything to do with them because what was coming out were parts of me that I had repressed, parts of me that I didn't accept, in some cases, parts of me that I didn't even know I had. So I would make a painting and it would be, to me, it would be ugly. And I'd take a picture of it, but I wouldn't share the picture with anybody, and I'd put it away because I knew I needed some space to get objectivity with it. And eventually, when the time came, I brought out one of these paintings and I got myself into a good space, and I said, all right, I'm going to open my eyes. I'm just going to witness this painting. You know, try not to judge it, just be with it. And I opened my eyes and I looked at this painting, and I realized it wasn't ugly. It just didn't feel like me. It wasn't a part of myself that I recognized. So from that, I realized that I could keep painting in this expressive way. And as I painted, not right away, but maybe halfway in the series, so 9 paintings in, this process of playfulness and chasing perfection, structure, and then expression and re-energizing, rebirthing the painting in a way, emerged. And that's how I've been painting ever since. And what's beautiful for me about it is, while images like this, or the flat, clear, conceptual images aren't in my current work, they're in my current process. So that's where that lives. It's inside of my process, and that's why my whole being is involved in the work I've been doing. And that catches you up sort of to my progress so far as an artist, except for last week I had sort of a breakthrough. I told Chad about this. I was doing one of these expressive works, and I realized, I always put a concept on my work, like we were talking about talking points and how helpful that is. It's just like, I always seem like have to have a concept. And I just wonder, beginning last week, and it feels really vulnerable to me to say this, but I wonder if it's enough. If it's like, here's a finished painting, it has that 3-part whole being process in it. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it doesn't have to have a concept in it outside of that. And what's beautiful about that, I'm not saying it's a done deal, I'm just saying that's possible, that's what I'm leaning into. What's beautiful about that, if it rings true for me, is that means I'm okay as I am. I don't need to have something to impress or perform upon other people with a concept or some, I can just show up and be. That's a beautiful thing. When I think about my dad, and that he wanted to be an artist, and that he felt trapped by life, and he wanted me to develop my potential. It makes me sad because now that I've gone on this journey, I feel like he maybe could have too, and other people can go on this journey. So I'm sad and hopeful because I feel like I have developed my potential. I'm not done there. Nobody's ever really done developing their potential, but I feel like I've come as close as I've ever come to returning to who I'm supposed to be, and that means loving my whole self unconditionally, and I believe that's possible for us all. I really do. Thank you.
So, happy birthday.
Thank you.